Hi, this is Lena from Sweden, coming at you with some thought about what addicts can offer us. And with us, I mean codependents. I consider myself a codependent in recovery since 10 years back, and I love to share about it because I think there's a lot of codependency going around out there. In some cases, it's very easy to identify addiction if it's a substance, for example, in the case of my dad, who was an alcoholic. But I think in some cases, it might be behavioral patterns that people have, dysfunctions that might not be in relation to a substance, but maybe a workaholic, someone who's emotionally unavailable, sex or relationship addicts, gamblers, psychologically ill family members, something that is so dominant that everyone behaves around it and starts to identify around it, whatever it is. I think those can be considered cases of addiction and family dysfunction and codependence. So most of us might agree that it's very painful to be around addicts or dysfunctional people, that we suffer a lot from this. So why do we stay? This is a very interesting question. I do believe that we can be victims, absolutely. But I also think sometimes we don't see that we are also responsible and not just victims. So I've been in therapy for years. I've also been in 12-step programs, and I started to identify things that I've done and that people do who are close to addicts that we do for us. Of course, subconsciously. It's not like we choose to stay around pain on a conscious level or choose to give away time and years and energy and, tears. And so what are the things that we might be doing subconsciously without recognizing it? I identified 3 things that I thought I'd share. And one thing that addicts can actually offer us is, of course, shame relief. Because in most cases, codependents also have a lot of shame. We've taken on the shame of this dysfunctional situation. We might feel it in our bodies, in our identity, like we don't fit in, or we're not like other families, we're not functioning. It's very painful. In my case, I was left alone a lot, so there was also a pedophile who abused me, so that definitely brought a lot of shame. And staying close to addicts can actually help us from dealing with our own shame. So we can always compare ourselves to the person like, yeah, but you're drunk and you can't even hold a job, or you can't pay your bills, or you're dirty, or you fall asleep on the metro, or you're in conflict, la 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 la. And my own shame levels is something that I don't have to deal with as long as I'm focusing on the addicts. Solutions, huh? Another thing that is hard for all adults is to take responsibility. And for codependents, it's like far before we were even like adults enough to deal with responsibility like normal people do, we are already very aware that we should not be taking responsibility for our own lives. We should take responsibility for the addict, to try to save them or to save ourselves or find solutions for the situation. Anything that is like not really dealing with reality, the reality of the situation. And it can be anything from, no, but I can't separate from this person, or I can't move, or I can't break up with them, I can't leave them with all these mess, or putting off decisions that we have to make, calling things impossible that are not impossible, procrastinating, diminishing ourselves. All great ways not to take the responsibility of our lives. Maybe rather the responsibility of the other person's lives, of the addict's life. Oh, of course, about the responsibility. If we are with a violent and potentially dangerous person, it's like it might be a threat to our lives if we were to take responsibility and see the people we want to see, wear what we want to wear, do what we want to do. So at that point, it's actually illegal, and I want to remind you of that in a democracy, we own our own bodies and our own decisions. The third thing is closely related to this because I think that addicts can offer us purpose. On a deep level, it's very obvious. Like, we can stay busy all our lives trying to save the addict, talk to them, spend time on this, wondering why it's not working, wondering what we should try, just being in our frustration. But I think it can also be a solution in the small things, in the little things. Like, if we stay close to people who are emotionally unavailable or addicts or dysfunctional, we can also keep busy with the if only. Like, if only this person would stop drinking, if only this dysfunctional person would say that they're sorry, if only they would understand, if only I could control this, although we're not conscious that we're trying to control, we just think we want what's best for them. If only they were well, if only everything that is not reality. So those are some of the things that I've identified in myself and people around me who are codependents. If you recognize some of this, you might want to look closer at it and see what you can do. Maybe Google around to see if there are some meetings or some information or some treatments that can give you more options than staying close to addicts to avoid living your own life.